Alright, so that's the grand total of all of the workspace that I have. Now it's inside of a Starbucks, so there's a lot of stuff that I can't bring out because it'll set off red flags. And there's proof of that as well. That's the thing, is that I understood the dynamics of everything that I was going to have to go through from personal experience and from the experiences of others. Now, if you guys go through and look at the witnesses, yeah, they're all pissed off. That's great. I don't mind. See, their opinions may change, but the facts do not. And the things that they said that some of them decided to change their minds about, well, the fact is I still have evidence that shows, like at Miss Tabby's, for example, that I did contribute. I contributed more than my fair share. I didn't have a room. I didn't have Graham helping me. I paid him to help me. He just didn't. Every time he was going to help me, Josh needed help. Josh needed attention. Josh the drunk. Josh the alcoholic. Josh the guy who's got protection orders against him by Miss Tabby. Yeah, this shit seriously happened. Well, you guys pretend that it didn't. Meanwhile, the slander against me by the Bollingers resulted in thousands of people taking part in this harassment, these threats. The police repeatedly did not do their jobs, refused to investigate, refused to take a report, threatened, harassed, and intimidated myself as well as witnesses, and yeah, I'm pissed off. My constitutional rights have been violated over the term mentally ill, which I've been speaking out about since before Natalie was killed. The slander by the Bollingers has continued. They have not stopped. Their friends and cronies who should have been told the truth have not stopped. And they want to play victim after slandering my name across multiple platforms on the internet. Now me, I don't have the technical ability to do this. I don't have anyone helping me with this technical stuff. I had people who offered but never followed through. There's a lot of witnesses who are scared shitless of the police. Obviously, the police don't give the fuck about the poor, and most of the people that were trying to help me are poor. Now, with Graham, did I pay him for his testimony? No. I paid him for his help. Help that he never provided. I bought his weed. I pitched for alcohol. I paid rent. That trip to Nebraska, I paid for all of that. I paid for his food. I paid for his cigarettes. I paid for everything. With people not coming forward, it's actually against the law for them not to come forward, because I am considered mentally disabled. I'm also physically disabled, which was further compounded by the police and by the staff at Clearview. Now, repeatedly, my public pretenders have refused to take a look at any evidence. Repeatedly, the police have refused to take a look at any evidence. Witnesses on this very YouTube verified that. Graham even verified it. Steve verified it. Peaches verified it. Aaron Cockerham, same thing. They did everything in their power not to do their jobs. They even pretended like Facebook is the law. Like what Facebook decides is the law. Except that there's no actual human beings on Facebook to review that shit. It's algorithms. Mathematical coding. Now the math may be right, but the humans doing the math are not. So, the slander against me isn't just civil, it's criminal. And officers across the board took part in this. There is evidence of their wrongdoing across the board. There is video evidence. I don't have that evidence, but they do. The police refusing to do their jobs ultimately resulted in Natalie's death. However, that started with rumors in Virginia, rumors that were untrue. I had my life threatened over 100 times. By at least 100 people, because my life was threatened on multiple occasions by a few of these people. Like Tim Beeson and Dalton Crawford and this Braxton feller. And this Murphy guy who was sending me pictures of guns and stuff, telling me he's coming after me. The cops don't give a fuck. I've tried to get them to look. They outright refuse, even if I make a 911 call. And lots of people saw these threats and did not come forward. I have documentation on my Facebook of multiple people whose lives were threatened, whose children's lives were threatened by the Bollingers and their fucking cronies. These people never would have come after any of us if the cops had done their goddamn jobs. Natalie would still be alive if police in Boulder, Colorado and Chapel, Nebraska had done their fucking jobs. Not just the Dual County Sheriff's Department, but also the Nebraska State Patrol, namely Officer Burr, but also the 2 State Patrol officers who were there in January of 2017, who took me in on a mental health hold. Repeatedly, these officers used mental health holds to prevent me from showing evidence or making a statement. It's disgusting. Now, this is something that needs to be reviewed. And I need to be kept safe from the Bollingers, from the courts, and from the police who did these things repeatedly. They did it one set around, complete circle, which made it a conflict of interest for any of them to have anything to do with any case of mine ever again. And they went around the circle twice more, slandering my name, slandering the names of people who were trying to help me, pretending that people were not trying to come forward, and they were. The police outright lied repeatedly. Now, if you look at the video with Amanda Jonas, she claims that she took my report. She absolutely did not. What she did was give me additional information, and I wrote that additional information down because there was a very short amount of time. I had already been arrested, and she was pretending. And that's a major issue with me, because officers have been pretending and playing stupid since I was in Virginia, when they broke the fuck out of my vehicle, and I tried to report against the police officers who had broken my vehicle. Yeah, the operator played fucking stupid. And I was trying to make a report about that when Natalie reached out to me. I had texted her and her sister, hey, I understand, if you guys are afraid of me or your family is afraid of me, just let me know. I'll leave and I'll never talk to you again. And that's where it should have stayed. I should have never been contacted by them or their friends ever again. Maddie Bowe was my friend at the time, and she started off doing the exact thing that has happened with everyone since. Literally everyone? No, but everybody who made a fucking difference. I called her up to let her know what was going on. The slander against me by Alicia Bollinger, who claimed that I had threatened her family, swayed Maddie Boa. She didn't care what the fuck I had to say. She said I was making excuses. No, I have documents from the hospital that show that I was severely dehydrated. That telephone was broken as fuck, and Alicia Bollinger can testify to that. The fact is, the things that I was judged for are things that are beyond my control. I can't control the slander that comes out of Alicia Bollinger's mouth. I can't control the slander that comes out of Maddie Boa's mouth. But that slander was allowed, and I was never allowed to show the truth. Nobody was. These groups continued to slander my name and pipe at people things that were untrue, which resulted in me being assaulted and my life being put at risk and my friends and family's lives being put at risk. You want to bitch at me? You don't get to. Your rights were not fucking violated. Now, because of what I was accused of, and because of the way that I was painted, there's a lot of people who are going through the same stuff. We could all work together to take these son of a bitches down. But they're afraid that the slander that was allowed against me will hurt their cases. Obviously. Now then there's people who went out of their way to slander me on my Facebook instead of talk to me like a human being, who now want me to keep their names out of my mouth. I'm sorry, David and Betsy Prowl. No, I'm not. You did wrong as fuck. What you did was slander my name on my own Facebook. Slandered my name. No, I'm not going to fucking be apologetic for spouting your names off. I never will. What you did was immoral, illegal, and wrong. Now, the thing about Facebook, I speak on Facebook because, as I've proven time and again, and many witnesses have proven time and again, the police will make every excuse not to take a report from a homeless person. And if it's a report against them, they will threaten you, they will assault you, they will harm people who come forward. This has been shown time and again. Now, at the case of Zaid Atkinson, he had people in his corner. Miss Peaches keeps saying, well, you know, it doesn't matter if there's 2,000 people. Well, there weren't 2,000 people at that rally. There weren't. It didn't look to me like there was even 100. But I didn't stop and count them all. Darren O'Connor, he knows that that officer assaulted me, Officer Lolatai, in January of last year. They've also got documentation that proves that that officer lied on court documents and in court. He lied on the stand. This man should be in prison for multiple assaults, abuse of power, but nobody gives a fuck. We give these Nazi pieces of shit licenses to literally kill people. Unarmed people. Up in Hardin, Wyoming, they kill people with exposure. They drive them out in the country and drop them off with no blankets or jackets, and they freeze to death. That's the same way Boulder police kill people. The Boulder City Council is responsible for at least 300 deaths in the last decade. Imagine that. These people's policies are literally killing people, and nobody gives a fuck. Meanwhile, the slander against me I was never allowed to defend myself against. That's because the judge in all three of the protection orders by the Bollingers and their cronies and family had a conflict of interest because he had done wrong. He was criminally negligent in what he did wrong. That's a conflict of interest. Officer Burke, having access to me after I threatened to sue those motherfuckers, they literally went out of their way to prevent me from making a report against any of these offenses against my human rights. And because they refused to press charges, they didn't have to look at evidence or gather evidence. If somebody had gone in with me, they would have had to, but they used the term mentally ill to discredit me so that they don't have to do their jobs. And then they just don't turn on their body cameras. And they only release the parts of their body cameras that they can use to try to frame me. That's why it's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Now these judges, every single one of them was heavily invested in protecting their buddies. These public pretenders were invested in protecting their buddies. They broke protocol, breached protocol, lied, threatened, and intimidated me, even my public pretenders, yes. But I stood up to all of them. Now, most of the people that you talk to, you'll realize I'm different in person than I am on the internet. In real life, I am good to people because I want to be. That's who I am. On the internet, I'm speaking out. The rules for all of these people, they think that the rules should be a certain way for them, but they should be different for me. Like Rick McCormick, Shannon Alvarado. These people are allowed to yell, I'm not. Now the stuff with Dan Fabert and his bullshit. See, that's the thing. Dan Fabert did the same thing that the police did. He didn't care about my side. He didn't. He just assumed that I was in the wrong. No, I was correct to be angry. I was correct in the things that Shannon Alvarado did and why. Now, I thought she was a meth head, and you know, she did admit that she was addicted to meth for a few years, and that her ex-husband was a meth head. However, when I got there, she wasn't on meth, she was just an alcoholic. So she doesn't retain information. She's a lush. It doesn't take much alcohol to get her that way. It takes very little, but she drinks a lot. That bottle of wine that she drinks every night is twice the size of a half gallon. So it's a gallon of alcohol. Well, a gallon of wine that she's drinking every night. And sometimes her boyfriend drinks it. Sometimes he don't. The Bollingers, their slander and their picking out little bits and pieces resulted in a lot of people getting the wrong idea and the wrong impression, and I still was never allowed to defend myself. They used the outcome of court dates that I was illegally prevented from going to, and were illegal already due to the fact that the judge who was involved should have had charges pressed against him for criminal negligence. But by preventing me from being able to go in there, and when I did go in there, refusing to take a report and refusing to allow me the information that I needed in order to take these people to court, in addition to my technical inabilities, makes it impossible. Not to mention that they falsely charged me with crimes that I did not commit in order to take away all of my disability money, to remove my ability to defend myself. Repeatedly, they refused to take a report before Natalie died. They refused to take a report from someone who is at risk about abuses against them. I needed someone to go in with me. I went to Miss Peaches repeatedly. And you know, there was a couple of times where I was just a little bit too pushy, apparently, because Miss Peaches snapped at me. That first one was over A-Bear. They were both very snappy, and I didn't get a word in edgewise. The second time, you know, I'd been there for 2 days. I'd been, you know, pitching food and buying cigarettes and providing for the household and hoping that she had time. And she said after the kids go to bed, and the kids were up pretty late, you know, one of them was sick. And I was like, hey, Miss Peaches, when are you going to have time? Sean, I'm a mom, all right? I have 10,000 things going on. Hold your horses. I'm not sure if she said hold your horses, but she said something similar to that. And it was very snappy, but it's also understandable because she is a mother. Like she said in that phone call, you know, quit pulling your sister's hair. Quit hitting your brother. Knock it the fuck off! That's the point that I got to. Now, these people are allowed to yell at me. I'm not allowed to yell back. These people are allowed to be angry at me. I'm not allowed to be angry back. These people are allowed to assault me. I'm not allowed to defend myself. This has been the entirety of my life because my family don't give a fuck. Every time I went in to talk to the police, they were able to slander my name. And not just slander my name, but entrap me through their lies by asking me to do things that put myself and my family in danger. Had they done their jobs, those things would not have put my family in danger, but they still put myself in danger. I did those things because the police asked. But police across the board did wrong. Now, Officer Burke, he was involved in all of that shit with Natalie prior to her death, according to Officer Amanda Jonas. Why was this officer let go from Broomfield? Why was he in Boulder County now? Why was he allowed and granted access to assault me for trying to make a police report? Why will no police officer take my report? See, that's the thing. The police aren't going to investigate themselves. We have repeated evidence of the Boulder Police Department and their Internal Affairs Division not investigating themselves, pretending to, lying outright, omitting evidence. That's why they need to have body cameras on at all times. Officer Amanda Jonas, when I was speaking to those officers, when I was in Longmont, at the Starbucks there, in my vehicle, they lied outright. They also didn't ask the right questions. See, I hadn't been to the Starbucks there in over a week. I'd been there several days over the course of time, but I hadn't been there in over a week. They claimed that the Starbucks people said that I had been there for a few days. I had been overall, but I hadn't been parked in my vehicle there for a few days. I hadn't been to that Starbucks since before I had gone to Nebraska. Hello, Mr. Austin. I am not going to feel bad for exercising my First Amendment right. Now, these Bollingers and their cronies have gone out of their way at every point in time to cut me off from my friends and family on my Facebook, which is the only platform that I have to actually show evidence. When I show evidence, they pull the little bits and pieces out that they can use to try to frame me in these groups, which is not a court of law, which is fucking, they want to be pissed off that I'm showing all of the truth. But then they have no problems framing me in these groups to try to get people to harm me. And that is literally what they're doing. They were able to manipulate the police into physically assaulting me on multiple occasions through their slander and through their lies. Now, these people, I was prevented from having any legal recourse against these people because the police, at all points in time, refused to take a police report, refused to look at evidence. The FBI would not do their jobs. Miss Shelley's the one who was really pushing me the hardest to talk to the FBI. Miss Shelley, it didn't do any good. Meanwhile, before they found Natalie's killer, that pocket dial scared the shit out of me because Ted is a dangerous man. So I got a hold of Rayanna Ingersoll to try to find Miss Shelley a safe place. Tried to get a hold of some bikers I know to try to get her a safe place too. So Rayanna's husband decided he was going to be a fucking dickhead. That's fine. Because Rayanna cried, I was the bad guy to him. I didn't make Rayanna cry. You guys keep telling me, you made me cry. Trying to pull sympathy after you did wrong. after you lied to me. Does it bother you that at all that I cry? No, when I cry, you call me a pussy, you fucking cunt. With the law, breaking the law, I was forced to break the law to defend myself and others. And you cannot make me feel ashamed for that. Now, with a lot of people, I don't get to defend myself, and the slander that was spoken against me, those people are still in Boulder area. They get to go slander my name all day, every day, to people that I know, and I'm not allowed to defend myself to these people. Most of them will not talk to me because of the slander against me. That's why I need an honest day in court, because I am being abused over slander. At no point in time did any officer make any attempt to do their job. That officer in Chapel, Nebraska, who pretended to take my report, did not do his job. He did zero investigating. When I tried to turn them into an outside agency, namely the Nebraska State Patrol, Officer Burr is friends with these people and in cahoots with them. All of these people's body cams need to be requisitioned. However, the false charges against me have prevented me from having an honest day in court. I have warrants out for my arrest for speaking out against officers. I have warrants out for my arrest because I was assaulted repeatedly and charged with assault by the very same people who assaulted me. Meanwhile, police refused to look at any evidence, falsified documents, falsified statements, refused to take a statement from me, made every excuse not to take a statement from me or from any actual witnesses. And it's been over a year. People forget a lot in a year. Especially when they're pissed off at you. They'll change their minds. I'm not changing my mind. I don't care if you're pissed off at me about the things that I was forced to do. I don't care if you're mad at me. I don't. I care that my name was slandered and it put many people at risk. The police refusing to do their jobs at every point in time. I have their names written down in the jails, the names of the guards. Now, a lot of that evidence was actually destroyed by the police. The police are destroying evidence and nobody gives a fuck. Meanwhile, I got a bunch of fakies who are pretending to help me and obviously aren't. Kathleen Cahill, or Katie Cahill, I should say, made a lot of claims that were untrue. The police refusing to look at any evidence, and then after they break the law, they know that they've broken the law. They smile at me while they're telling me that I can get a lawyer when I get out. I don't have the money for a lawyer. So that must make me guilty, right? Because I don't have the money for a lawyer? Because the public pretenders wouldn't do their job, I must be guilty? That's the thing. You guys want me to shut up, but you won't shut up. You won't stop slandering my name, but you want to be pissed off that I'm telling the truth, that I'm still speaking out. The officer in those protection orders, or not the officer, but the judge in those protection orders had a conflict of interest in that. He made it illegal for me to exercise my First Amendment right to do exactly what it is that the Bollingers are doing. Exactly? No. Because I'm trying to show the whole truth, whereas they're trying to slander me and frame me, and they've done a great job only because the police won't do their jobs. Now for me, if I start trying to get legal proceedings started against them right now, they will do exactly the same thing that they did in those civil suits, where I could have shown all of the evidence. They were heavily invested in making sure that I could not. If I had been allowed to go to those, then these people would all have charges pressed against them, from the police to the Bollingers, even Alicia. These people should have left me alone. The multiple assaults against me, I have tried to get the police to do their jobs about. Assaulting an at-risk adult, assaulting a mentally disabled person, or a physically disabled person, these are all against the law. But the police didn't care. By the time Derek Apodaca assaulted me, yeah, the police in Boulder had already refused to take my report on at least 30 different occasions. 30. Now you guys want to be pissed off at me for still speaking out. I was separated from my loved ones, cut off from speaking to them, cut off from being able to communicate with them by people who hated me because of slander. I need an honest day in fucking court. If you don't give a fuck about your goddamn rights, then kill me. If you don't care about your constitutional rights, then kill me. Because I'm not going to stop fighting for them. I don't get those rights. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, these are supposed to be for all of us, but it doesn't apply to me. I have zero constitutional rights. I never have had constitutional rights. No money means no rights. No money means the cops can do whatever the fuck they want, and I have proven this time and again. I will not stop speaking out. You guys want to be pissed off that I get angry and scream. Meanwhile, these other people are allowed to get angry and scream, aren't they? These people who pretended like I threatened their lives. I didn't. The Bollingers pretended that I threatened their lives. The only Bollinger whose life I actually threatened was Ted at my grandma's funeral, because he and his daughter went out of their way to create a scenario where it seemed like Ted was hurting his daughter or had already harmed her. The same thing with Miss Shelley and Officer Michael Beard at Miss Candace's. Why did Candace turn tail and run? Why did Candace stab me in the back? Because she was afraid for her fucking kids. Another thing I've been speaking out about since well before Natalie was killed. Matter of fact, since before I met Natalie. I've been saying for years that the reason that I do what I do is because parents are too afraid to. I can do things that they can't. I can stand up to these pigs. I'm also going to call these parents cowards because their children are going to live in a worse world because they're bitches. Not their kids, their parents. These parents are bitches who are not standing up for the Constitution. Therefore, their children will not have access to that very same Constitution. The things that I'm angry about are valid reasons for being angry. Being assaulted repeatedly is a valid reason for being angry. Being assaulted by the police is a valid reason for being angry. Having police refuse to take a report is a valid reason for being angry. Having my name slandered, to this day, the slander continues. One man tried pretending that I had typed some perverted stuff to Natalie when she was 17 and claimed it was in one of these Natalie Bollinger groups. Well, if it was in one of these Natalie Bollinger groups, and that's what it says, is that I was typing perverted stuff at her when she was 17, then it was photoshopped. Now, he was claiming that this was from me. So there's a lot more going on in these Natalie Bollinger groups than meets the eye, and they need to be investigated. Facebook doesn't give a fuck. These people go out of their way to destroy my Facebook. Go out of their way to prevent me from speaking or associating with my loved ones. They even hacked my Facebook. I told a couple of stories, quite a few stories actually. I told the story of Nicole Jarrell stabbing me in the butthole with a carrot, and the story of my little sister beating her dog. I got Facebook banned for 30 days for telling those stories. I made a video about the, what do you call that? The, how to tell if your kids are using meth. And the effects of meth. I also made one on alcohol. I also made one on heroin. I got Facebook banned for that too. I also got on a Facebook ban for saying that I couldn't kill James Payton. Meanwhile, these people were able to go into a courtroom and slander my name to a judge who should have never been allowed to even touch the case. And the officers conspired with these people to prevent me from going to court. The officers conspired with the Bollinger family, with the Kelly family, with the Garner family, with the Campbell family, to obstruct justice, to frame an innocent man. You're damn right I'm pissed off. And yes, I have proof of all of the things that I've said. The evidence that I don't have is either A, in the hands of police officers who refuse to turn it over, or B, it's been destroyed by police and their inability to do their fucking jobs. All of these people who want to be pissed off that their words are out here on YouTube, those words should have been in court. If they want to be pissed off, they need to be pissed off at the courts. They need to be pissed off at the police. They need to be pissed off at the Bollingers. If I had ever, even once, been allowed an honest day in court, I never was, but if I had been able to answer to these crooks and these cronies, it would have made a lot of difference. I never typed anything perverted to Miss Natalie. There was only one message between her and I when she was 17. That was at her request, and I didn't know how old she was. I just knew that it had been a few years since I saw her last, and her sister were walking with some much older men. I made an assumption that they were older. However, it's not illegal to communicate with someone who asks you to. Almost all of the things that were used to slander my name, Alicia knows are bullshit, but she has not come forward. She knows that people are threatening and assaulting my life over these things, and she has not come forward. Neither has Maddie Boa. Meanwhile, these people repeatedly slandered my name to people that I know, and I wasn't allowed to defend myself to any of them. I'm not going to stop speaking out until I'm dead for a reason. Do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. If you can't do that, then fuck you. You don't deserve your constitutional rights, bitch.